Level 1. The peasant. You wake when the last star has not yet faded. The cold cuts like a blade. Your wife is boiling wild herbs in an earthen pot. Your 2 children lie curled on the dirt floor beneath a torn mat. The house is made of earth mixed with straw. There is only a small smoke hole in the roof. In winter, the smoke cannot escape, and the whole family coughs through the night. You put on a faded cloth tunic. Your name, your village, and your household number are all recorded in the magistrate's register. The state knows where you are, what you do, and how much you owe. The land is yours, but it is not yours. Under the reforms of Shang Yang, land was distributed by household. But if you fail to pay your taxes, the land is taken back. If you flee, and your neighbors do not report you, all 5 households in your group are punished together. That is the law of Lianzuo. The taxes of Qin are heavier than any dynasty that came before. Estimates put 2/3 of the harvest flowing into state granaries. You grow 10 parts and keep 3. You go to the field before the fog has lifted. Your hoe and sickle you bought from a state-licensed foundry. You till the soil until the sun is high. Your back screams. Your hands bleed. At midday, you eat dry millet cake. There is no meat. On lucky days, there are pickled vegetables. On unlucky days, there is only millet. You pay taxes in grain and cloth. But what the state truly wants is your body. Every year, you must perform corvée labor. This year, the order has come. Go north to build the Great Wall. The wall is thousands of li to the north. Those who went before you, neighbors, cousins, some did not come back. Not because of battle, because of hunger, because of cold, because of working past the limit of what a body can endure. The law of Lianzuo is clear. If one man flees his labor duty, and his neighbors do not report it, the whole group is punished. So no one flees, so everyone goes. You bow when the patrol soldiers pass. You do not look them in the eyes. The laws of Qin are precise, about who may do what, who may say what, who may stand where. The first emperor in Xianyang does not know you exist, and he does not need to.
Level 2. The artisan. You learned your trade from your father, who learned it from his father. You are a weaponsmith in a state foundry on the outskirts of Xianyang. Your hands are always black from the smoke of the furnace. The burn scars on your arms have been there so long, you no longer remember when they formed. You wake before dawn and walk to the foundry where 20 other men are already at their stations. The smelting furnace has been burning since midnight. The heat inside the workshop is like hell even in winter. Today you are making arrowheads. Every day you make several hundred. The shape must be exact. Thickness, angle, weight, all according to state standards. The Qin have unified measurements across the entire empire. An arrowhead from your foundry must fit perfectly onto a shaft from a foundry in another province. Weapon parts are interchangeable. This has never existed before. If your work does not meet the standard, you are punished. The state does not pay you in coin. You are paid in food rations. Grain, salt, sometimes a little oil. Enough to survive, not enough to spare. Your wife weaves cloth at home to trade for extra food for the children. On every product you make, you must carve your name. This is the law, Wula Gongming. If the product is defective, the inspector knows immediately who made it. There is nowhere to hide. There is no one else to blame. You are registered with the state foundry. You cannot leave this trade without an order. Your son will do this work. Your grandson will too. Qin needs weapons more than anything else. You make things you will never see used. The weapons leave the foundry and disappear into military warehouses. Sometimes you hear news of battles in the north or the west. You wonder if your arrows flew there. In the evening, you come home after dark. Your wife has left your portion of rice by the stove. Your 2 children are already asleep. You sit and eat alone in the darkness and listen to their breathing. Last month, your eldest son was sick for a week. You could not take time off. The foundry has no concept of leave. Your wife cared for him alone. The boy recovered. You did not know until the end of the week when you came home. You go back to the furnace the next morning. Your name has been carved onto thousands of arrowheads flying across the empire. No one knows your name. Only the inspector does. And only when something goes wrong. Level 3. The merchant. You are wealthy. You have silver buried in 4 different places and warehouses in 2 cities. And the emperor's law says you are the lowest class in society. This is the contradiction you live with every day. You trade cloth, timber, and grain between the commanderies of the empire. Since the first emperor unified weights, measures, and currency, trading between regions has become much easier than before. You have taken full advantage of that. You have agents in 3 commanderies and a network of contacts stretching from north to south. You know the price of everything in every region. You know when wheat in the north is cheap and silk in the east is expensive. Information is what makes you money. You wear plain cloth in public because the law forbids merchants from wearing silk. You are not permitted to ride a horse in the city. Your sons cannot register as soldiers. The only path to advancement in the Qin Empire is military merit, and your children are shut out from the start. The legalist scholars who run Qin consider you a parasite. In their philosophy, only farmers and soldiers create real value. One feeds the empire, one defends it. You merely move other people's goods and pocket the difference. You bow to officials in the street. You smile when they insult you. Your taxes are higher than a farmer's. There are fees at every checkpoint on every road you travel. Every shipment is a calculation of how much profit remains after everything is subtracted. The market inspector expects a monthly gift. The patrol soldiers too. The clerks who issue permits too. You do not call it bribery. You call it the cost of doing business. You lend money to a young officer when he needs to equip himself for the northern campaign. If he earns merit, he gets promoted. If he gets promoted, he remembers who helped him when it was hard. This is how merchants survive in a system designed to keep them small. You buy land registered under your relatives' names. Silver in a warehouse can be confiscated. Goods can be requisitioned when the state needs them. But land is harder, and land gives you something money cannot buy: a foothold in society. Your greatest fear is not poverty. You know how to make money. Your greatest fear is a morning when soldiers come to knock on your warehouse door and say the state needs to requisition your goods. No reason given, no compensation, just the order. You have heard of it happening to others. So you never keep too much in one place. Silver buried in 4 locations, goods split between 2 warehouses, names on documents belonging to relatives. You have built your empire so that no one can see all of it at once. You are wealthy. You are smart. You work harder than any official who has ever insulted you in the street. And every evening you come home, knowing that everything you have built could be gone before sunrise. If someone with enough power decided they wanted it. Level 4. The soldier. You were conscripted at 17. Your village had to provide enough men according to the commandery's order. Your family had 2 sons. You were the eldest. You marched to the barracks with 200 others from your commandery. You were issued leather armor, an iron helmet, a spear, and a short sword. The weapons were cast to standard. Everything fits. Everything is interchangeable. Qin has no rotation system. When you are called, you go until the campaign ends or you die. No fixed return date. No clear plan. Only the next order. But Qin gives you something no dynasty before it ever offered: a way out of the life of a farmer. The military merit rank system has 20 levels. Every enemy head you bring back after a battle earns you 1 rank. Every rank comes with land, a house, and exemption from certain taxes. For the first time in Chinese history, a farmer can become a noble simply by fighting bravely enough. You know that. Everyone in your unit knows that. That is why Qin soldiers fight the way they fight. They send you east to the battlefields against the state of Zhao. You had never left your commandery before. The first time you saw a large city was from outside the enemy's walls. Before your first battle, your commander repeated the law: bring back enemy heads, earn promotion. Flee the battlefield, be executed on the spot. The unit is responsible for each other. If one man runs and the others do not stop him, the whole unit is punished. The first man you killed was a Zhao soldier not much older than you. You drove your spear into him and watched the life leave his eyes. You vomited afterward. Then you cut off his head and tied it to your belt, because that is the law. You must bring proof back so the officers can count and record it. The second and third you do not remember clearly. They were just shapes falling in the smoke and shouting. You feel less about killing now than you used to. You do not know if that is good or bad. You eat dried rations and thin soup. You sleep in a barracks with 50 other men. The discipline in the Qin army is stricter than anything you have ever known. No noise after curfew. No leaving your position without an order. No complaints. You are at rank 3 of the 20-rank system. You have fought through 4 battles. You have brought back 9 heads. At rank 8, you will be given a house and 5 mow of land. Your son will not have to be a farmer. You keep fighting because of that. Not because you are not afraid of dying, but because this is the first time in your life you have had something worth fighting for. Not for the emperor, not for the empire, but for the son waiting for you at home. You carve your wife's name and your son's name onto a strip of bamboo. You carry it in your jacket against your heart. You think of your wife's face every night before you sleep. You are starting to forget what she looks like. That terrifies you more than any battle. Level 5. The Magistrate. You did not buy this position. You did not pass an examination to get it. You were appointed because your superiors saw that you had ability. You know the law, you can calculate, you can manage people. That is all they needed. You are the emperor's representative in this county. Beside you is the county commander who handles military affairs and the county deputy who handles administration. 3 men checking each other. No one holds full authority alone. You have the county seal. Every order you issue must bear that seal. Every document you sign must have a copy kept on file. Every decision leaves a trace. Every mistake can be traced back. You hear cases every morning at the yamen. A farmer accuses his neighbor of moving a boundary stone. A man accuses his brother of failing to report a criminal. A violation of the Lianzhou law. A merchant is accused of evading taxes. You consult the Qin code. Each offense has a specific punishment. Each punishment has a specific number of strokes. Each case has a specific procedure. You do not judge by conscience. You apply the law. You are responsible for everything in the county. If taxes fall short, you are punished. If corvée labor quotas are not met, you are punished. If a criminal escapes, you are punished. If the neighboring county performs better than yours, you are punished. You also accept gifts, but you are careful. The law has specific provisions for officials who take bribes. The penalties are severe. You know a colleague in the next county who was removed from his post for taking too much. The county has 20,000 registered households. Each one is in your ledger. You do not know their faces, but you know their numbers. Their land, their grain, their days of labor still owed. The people in your ledger are figures. One morning, a woman comes to the yamen. Her husband was arrested for failing to report a neighbor's crime, a violation of Lianzhou. She asks when he will be released. You check the ledger. The law is clear. The punishment is 3 years of corvée labor. You tell her. She does not cry. She just looks at you for a moment and then turns away. In the evening, you sit reading through the documents that need to be processed tomorrow. The law is correct. You applied the law correctly. The husband violated Lianzhou. 3 years of labor is what the regulations specify. You tell yourself that. You blow out the lamp. You go to sleep. Level 6. The Inspector. You started as a county clerk at 16. 5 years later, you discovered that your magistrate was falsifying household registration numbers to skim taxes. You wrote a report and sent it directly to the commandery. The magistrate was removed from his post. The Grand Inspector read your report and said, "People who can see the truth are rare. People who dare to write it down are rarer still." A month later, you received the inspector's seal. Your work is travel. No fixed office. No home in the capital. You arrive at a commandery, audit the ledgers, investigate accusations, write your report, and move on. When you arrive, local officials receive you with great respect, not because your rank is higher than theirs, but because your reports go directly to Xianyang. You have written reports that led to the dismissal of 7 officials. You do not know exactly what happened to them afterward. You learn not to ask. You have seen things most officials never see. Tax ledgers falsified. Frontier soldiers starving while their commanders ate meat. Grain warehouses empty but reports showing them full. You wrote reports about all of it. Not all of them were acted upon. Some disappeared, somewhere between Xianyang and the emperor's hands. You do not know why. You learn not to ask. There is a line you learned very quickly. Investigate this far and no further. No one told you where that line was. You figured it out by watching what happened to the people who crossed it. You do not know whether you are protecting justice or just another gear in the machine. Sometimes you are not sure those two things are different. The next morning you wake early, pick up your ledger, and move on. 3 more commanderies to inspect before the year ends. Level 7. The Governor. Your commandery covers land that was once the state of Chu. The people here do not consider themselves Qin. They have never considered themselves Qin. Your administrative seat has around 100,000 people. They speak a local dialect your soldiers cannot understand. They use the old Chu system of weights and measures. They look at you the way you look at an occupier, because you are an occupier. Beside you is the commandery military commander and the commandery inspector. 3 men governing 1 commandery. No one fully trusts anyone else. That is the design of the system. You never know what the man beside you is writing about you to Xianyang. Your first task is to impose the new standards. Unified script, unified weights and measures, unified currency. The people have used the old Chu system for generations. They do not want to change. There are old Chu nobles, people who once had land, titles, and servants before Qin arrived. They lost everything. They have not forgotten. They do not let the people forget. This winter the river flooded. 2,000 farmers lost their homes. You opened the grain stores and petitioned Xianyang for tax remission. The answer came 2 months later. Half approved. You paid the other half out of your own pocket. You govern 300,000 people who do not want to be governed by you. You enforce laws they did not choose. You collect taxes for an empire they did not choose. Sometimes you think about the old Chu nobles. They also believed they were doing what was right for their people. You are not sure that is different from what you are doing. You do not think about it for long. Level 8. The General. You command 300,000 soldiers on the northern frontier. Under your hand are more people than the population of most commanderies. In your hands are all of their lives. You have fought through 30 years. You took part in the campaigns that unified the 6 states. You have stood on battlefields where hundreds of thousands fell. You are still alive. Not all good fortune is good. After the empire was unified, there were no more states to conquer. The emperor gave you a new mission: push the Xiongnu back north and build a wall to keep them out. You have done the first part. The second part is slowly killing your men. The Great Wall is being built along the frontier for thousands of liar. Your soldiers build by day and stand guard by night. They die from cold, from hunger, from disease, and sometimes from the Xiongnu. You send reports to Xianyang, requesting more supplies. The answer is always, keep building. You know the names of every great general who died by the emperor's hand in your generation. Bai Qi, the most talented general Qin ever produced, was given a sword and told to use it on himself because he knew too much and had won too much. You think about him more often than you would like to admit. So you are careful. You do not accumulate too much wealth. You do not build too many connections among officials in the capital. You do not write private letters to the emperor unless asked. You win just enough battles to remain useful and not enough to become a threat. That is the art of surviving as a general. You meet with your commanders every morning. You read intelligence reports on the Xiongnu. You inspect the defensive line. You sign orders punishing deserters. You sign orders rewarding the brave. The night before a major battle, you walk along the lines. You look at the face of each man. Boys of 17, 18, from villages you will never visit. They look back at you with an expression you have known long enough to recognize. Not courage, fear being hidden. By morning, some of them will be dead. You know that. They know that. No one says it. You return to your command tent. You study the map of the defensive line. You order the attack at dawn. That is your work. You have done this long enough to stop asking whether you are doing right. You only ask whether you are doing it well enough. Level 9. The Chancellor. You stand at the head of the civil officials in the Great Hall. 2 long rows of ministers stretch behind you. The emperor sits on the throne above. You are closer to him than anyone else in the empire, and further from him than anyone else. Every morning you enter the palace before dawn. Your clerks are already waiting outside the gate with a stack of new memorials. You read, annotate, forward. Then you enter the Great Hall. Then you read and annotate again. That is your day. You stand in court, and you know exactly who is watching whom. The official 3 rows behind you is building a faction. The one to your right just married his daughter into an old noble family. You remember all of it. You say nothing. This year, the emperor is on tour. You travel with him. He wants to see the empire, erect stone inscriptions, record his achievements for history. This is the 5th such journey. You are worried about his health, but you do not say so. He dies on the road, not in the capital, not prepared. He dies in his carriage in the middle of open country, far from Xianyang, with no family beside him. That night, the most powerful eunuch at court comes to find you. The succession edict, naming the eldest prince, has not yet been sent. He says we can change it. The second son is easier to control. You know it is treason. You know the eldest prince is the rightful heir. But standing behind the eldest prince is a great general with 300,000 soldiers. If he takes the throne, you lose everything. You agree with the eunuch. The second son becomes emperor. The eunuch becomes the one who truly rules. You still stand at the head of the officials in the great hall each morning, but your memorials are no longer read. 2 years later, you are arrested. The charge is treason. The one who accuses you is the same eunuch you allied with. On the day you are let out, you turn to your son and say, "I wish we could go back home and take the dogs out hunting one more time, the way we used to." You built the most perfect administrative machine in Chinese history. The machine no longer needs you. You understand that better than anyone, because you designed it that way. Level 10. The Emperor. Before you, the rulers of the warring states called themselves king. You found that title too small. You took Huang from the 3 sovereigns and Di from the 5 emperors, the mythological founders of Chinese civilization, and combined them into a title no one had ever held. Huang Di, Emperor, you are the first. Every morning you hold court. Hundreds of officials prostrate themselves on the floor. No one looks you in the eyes. Your chancellor stands at the head of the row, closer to you than anyone else, and never allowed to forget the distance. You unified 6 states. You created an empire that had never existed before. One script, one system of weights and measures, one currency, one legal code. You did all of it in 10 years. You began building your tomb the year you took the throne. That was 30 years ago. Inside that mountain is an entire kingdom beneath the earth, rivers of mercury, a ceiling carved with the stars and constellations, and thousands of terracotta soldiers standing in formation, waiting to follow you into the next world. You have prepared for death more elaborately than any person in history, and you do not want to die. You have sent ships east across the sea to find the elixir of immortality. The alchemist told you there is an island far to the east where a herb grows that keeps men alive forever. The ships went out and did not return. You sent more ships, then more. You never sleep in the same place 2 nights in a row. You have palaces scattered across the empire, connected by roads with covered walkways. No one is permitted to reveal where you are staying. Anyone who reveals it is executed. You call it security. It is actually a loneliness you have built with your own hands. This year you set out on tour again. The 5th time. You want to see the empire, erect stone inscriptions, carve your name into rocks across the land. You also want to escape Xianyang, the suffocating capital with all its bowing faces. You die on the road home, inside your carriage, in the middle of open country, no family beside you, only the eunuch and the chancellor, already quietly discussing how to forge the succession edict. And the smell from the cart of salted fish traveling alongside yours, to cover the smell of your body in the summer heat. You named yourself the first emperor. After you would come the second, then the third, then 10,000 generations. There was a second emperor. There was no third